So check this out. We got the about page. It's like, oh yeah, you're so cool. So there's a great picture of me and stuff.
It's up. It's up.
Alright guys,
Not gonna say that I'm the best at this, but I will say I'm pretty proud. We are currently firing up the engine on the good old monster truck, and we are gonna go uptown to go hang out with Mr. Diaz in the dark lab. And we're gonna go kind of get that baseline. I haven't had a metabolic test with him in 3 years. And since then, you know, that was 2017, I have put on a lot of muscle mass. I've done a lot of CrossFit style stuff. So I'm a different man. I'm definitely, you know, there's a new shell to this, you know, bulk pony. So we're just gonna get some information so that we can get into some events coming up. Supposedly we're going to Germany to compete in about 3 weeks. After that, I'm gonna try to set some world records. And overall, I just want my metabolism to be firing all cylinders, if you know what I mean. So let's get this party started. Where did I put the keys? Oh, there we go. La-di-da.
Credit due to you.
Thank you.
For when you had recently posted the importance of that resting metabolic assessment on your Instagram account.
Did you get any business?
No.
Ah.
But I still appreciated that you understand and realize the importance of having that information.
Yeah.
Because it's so important. I started using this test for all of my clinics about 5 years ago. And beyond the resistance I was getting from people because they're, look at me, you know, my abs are showing, I'm all lean, I'm an athlete. I don't really need to worry about my calories because everything I eat I burn.
Yeah.
So they run on that false assumption that everything is cool. Where in fact, what can happen is when you're incorrect about your caloric intake and where those substrates are coming from, it can be a very insidious attack on your energy levels, and you may start to notice your performance dropping off by 10% here, 10% there, and then you're feeling like, oh my God, I need to work harder, I need to work more often, and in fact that's exactly what you should not have been doing.
Yeah.
And your energy levels were off.
The first time I ever started to really track my calories was when I did that test with you, and then I was training, going to the TMX World Title going into 2018. So I did the test with you, and then after that I got like a macro coach, and I took all the numbers, and I was leaner than I'd ever been, and I was running faster than I'd ever been, and I was PRing every single time I went in the gym. And so my weight was going down, which typically doesn't make sense for lifting numbers, and my speed was going, which is typically very hard to hold on to when you're just constantly taking food away from yourself, because I've dieted like the wrestling style diet to get lean enough so I could get to the top of the mountain faster. But then all of a sudden, like, I couldn't even do 10 chin-ups. I remember when I was doing that, remember when I went vegan?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the point that you didn't make is the fact that you, having tested, started consuming upwards of 1,500 more calories per day.
Way more food. Way more
than you were before, and got leaner in so doing.
Yeah. And right now, maybe like 206, maybe similar to the numbers we did last time, but I think there may be more muscle mass on me.
Very much likely. But point being is that not only is it a function of making sure that the appropriate amount of calories are coming in on a daily basis, which is really, really important, but I have people that come in that are doing all these fad diets. You know, they've been under the understanding that they're going to be fat adapted, keto, paleo, all these crazy approaches. And then when you get up on the screen, which we'll see very soon, it identifies how your body's using the energy that's there. Yeah. So are you burning fat? Are you actually getting into your fat stores, which is conserving your carbohydrate stores, which is supremely important when you're racing?
Yeah.
Is having enough carbs in the tank so you can do the work. And it all bears out right here. So I don't have to get into an argument with anybody about what their diet philosophy is. I just put them on the cart and let the science dictate. So that's what we're going to do again today.
No big deal. I'm hoping I have better numbers so I can eat more trash and burn it even faster. Shooby dooby doop boop boop.
Last words. Look at me. Let's see, it goes this way. There goes the mullet.
Yeah.
Do you put hair product in there too?
No. It's just unnaturally beautiful.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's your pillow. You could scoot it back a little bit more.
It's a Tempur-Pedic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't fuck around.
That is a big one.
Okay, so you're doing your part. All you gotta do is just lay there. Scratch your nose?
No. Scratch my balls. I'm a prisoner.
Take shot. When we do these clinics, we do this upwards of 20 times, and then 20 VO2s, and then gait analysis on everybody that shows up in here. It's a rough couple of days of work. You know, obviously because I'm vested in this is what I do, it would seem like you'd expect me to say this, but with conviction I can tell you this is probably almost more important than a VO2 max test, because it's energy in, energy out. If you don't have enough energy coming in, you're wrestling with trying to conserve enough energy to produce the work you're doing. It could be a nightmare. So let's take a look at what we got going here. So you can see I like to refer to this as a smog check for humans. Essentially what we're doing is we're analyzing gases. The oxygen coming into his body versus the carbon dioxide being produced by his body. And what you're looking at here, that green line is the oxygen coming in milliliters of oxygen per kilo of body weight per minute. Actually, scratch that, it's indifferent of his mass, it's just milliliters per minute. And then the red line is the carbon dioxide production, also in milliliters per minute. And then this VO2 score, this is inclusive of his mass, because it's in milliliters per kilo of body weight per minute. And so essentially what he's doing is he's turning over 3 milliliters of oxygen right now in his respiration rate for every kilo of body weight per minute. So he's 206 pounds, just for simple math, cut it in half, and that'd be kilos. So for just hypothetically like 100 kilos, he's turning over 3 milliliters for each of those. And that's why this is bearing out here. You know, it started out about 400 milliliters and it's kind of hovering down below. You see when it gets more comfortable, the rate of respiration starts to settle down. And so the 3.3 is pretty average. I'll have people that have sleep apnea, people that have trouble when they sleep. They virtually don't breathe anymore until they get that big, get that big snort, and they kick out some air because their body's just craving oxygen. This orange line that just materialized is called the respiratory exchange ratio. And in a different screen, well, no, don't need a different screen. On the right-hand side of the legend, you see where it says RER, and then in the very middle of the screen, it says 1, and then going down, it says 090807. Well, if you start at about 0.7, that equates to about 100% fat utilization. At 0.8, it's about 66.6% fat utilization. At 0.9, it's about 32.5% fat utilization. And if it's at 1, it suggests that all of the energy that's being consumed is coming from carbohydrate. And so, as we're winding through this test, it's identifying for us very precisely what the ratio of fat versus sugar is being used. And right now, he's doing a pretty good job. I want to say it's probably about 40% fat use right now, and it may improve. We'll just see. Obviously enough, this is going to carry out over 15 minutes, and what it does is it extrapolates time, assuming that this is what you're doing, just lying there doing nothing but playing with your phone. And you did that for 24 hours, it would indicate how many calories your body requires. It's giving us data every 15 seconds. And it's showing the milliliters of oxygen per minute. And then it shows, taking into account his mass. Then it shows the carbon dioxide per minute. And then it takes into account his mass. And then this is ventilatory exchange of oxygen, ventilatory exchange of carbon dioxide. And the FeO2 is forced expiratory O2 or oxygen, and the same for the carbon dioxide. And the thing that really hits home for us right here is the RER, which is the respiratory exchange ratio again. And you can see how those numbers are hovering in the 8s, which is indicative of what it was showing on the graph. So again, that's putting them at probably around 40% fat utilization. So the assumption being that if he was to do nothing but lie there, we don't know what the total caloric demand is, but we do know that of all the calories that are being asked for, the majority right now is leaning towards carbohydrate, but he is sparing quite a bit. He's sparing like 40%, which is good, which is very good. He's got more dense muscle than he did before, and denser muscles don't process oxygen nearly as well as slow twitch fibers, which are less dense fibers. And so a more aerobic animal would have a tendency to have more respiration through the muscles, which would lead to more oxidative metabolism, meaning they'd burn more fat.
Well, I hold my breath a lot when I'm thinking.
Yeah?
Yeah, just like, you know? It was pretty good. I actually started to fall asleep for a while, and then when you guys bumped into me, how rude. It felt great. It's cool to do this kind of stuff. It's an anxiety attack to do like these things and the VO2 max, because like sometimes you just don't want to know your numbers because you don't want to know that you're out of shape or worse shape than you were before. I'd say like 1 in 5 times when I go to these things do I pop a bigger number than I ever have before, and you're like, whoa! And the rest of the times they shit on you, and they're like, yeah, dude, you're not where you used to be, but you could be. So I have the good, the bad, and the ugly with coming to visit Rich, but it's always important information, so I do it regardless.
So this is interesting.
Ooh. Hello.
Your RMR, if you're looking at it right up here, top left, RMR was 2,030 calories. So that's excluding everything other than you just lying there.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's suggesting that it's 2.2% below normal. Which is, it's not, there's not much going on here.
Meaning I'm like lower than the average person?
No, meaning that relative to your mass, it's a little slower than it would be predicting.
Yeah.
But 2.2, it's almost right on. And the good news is 0.84 is the respiratory exchange ratio on average, which puts you right at about 50% fat use.
Yeah.
So that was good. And if you look at the legend here, you see how when it's higher, it's more sugar. When it's lower, it's more fat. And you can see right about here is where I chastise you for looking at your phone, and you stop looking at it. And you can see that the green line being above the red more so than here is showing that you're more oxidative, more fat use.
So if I had been off earlier, I would have been on that lower line.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it, to me, doesn't make that much difference.
Yeah.
And this is a fat, by the way, we never talk about this, but this is a fat-free mass estimate. So it's saying, it's called 75 kilos. So,
You're telling me I'm 40 pounds with fat?
no, dude. 75 kilos times 2.2. So call that 150 and then 15-ish.
Yeah, but it says right there I weigh 94.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here, yeah, so, yeah.
There's no way I'm 40 pounds of fat. That's crazy.
Well, it's also saying your goal weight's 185 pounds.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe type that in as 195.
Well, what's more important to me is when I print this,
Yeah.
Factoring in,
What was my metabolism at when I was a while ago?
we're gonna go through all that. I just need to get this on paper so I can compare one to the other.
Oh.
All right, so let me get my old man glasses on and we'll look at this.
Nice. Nice.
All right, so what it's saying is it's saying that if you were to exercise and only burn 317 calories, which means that you started to go outside and your knee hurt and you went back to bed.
Yeah.
You don't burn. You know your average caloric burn per hour is probably closer to 1,000. So let's call this 1,000. So we'll add 700 to this. And then this is talking about your lifestyle, just getting around the house, doing the things you do, playing with your computer,
Yep.
but not strenuous exercise. So then it takes into account your resting metabolism, which was 2,030, and it's saying here 2956, but we got to add in 700. So if we add in 700, let's just call that 3,700.
Yeah.
We'll call it 3,700.
Okay.
And so 3,700 calories is what your body requires if you only spent 1,000 calories during your exercise,
Yeah.
which you know and I know that that's not the case. It's like you're more likely to spend at least 1.5 to 2 times that. So probably on an average day you might burn 1,500 to 2,000 calories in exercise.
So I'm
Average day.
still around that 5,000 mark.
I would put you at about 4,500
Yeah.
to be on the safe side.
For maintenance.
Yeah, 4,500 now. So that doesn't take into account you're going crazy and you know going out and do like a 3 or 4 hour thing, or
Yep.
if you go for a 2-hour mountain run or something like that.
Yeah.
That's going to factor in.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, a lot of people would think they want to repay those calories after they've done what they've done.
Yeah.
So like you say, well, I burnt 2,000, so I'm adding 2,000 today.
Yeah.
It would probably be better to do it that day, but not do it the following day,
Yeah.
right? So the following day, you might just go back to normal,
Uh-huh.
and then when you're ramping up the work, ramp up the calories. When you're ramping down the work, ramp down the calories.
Okay. Keep on yawning, huh?
Just, and it says that if you wanted to really reach your goal of losing all that muscle mass, it'll take you about 11 weeks.
Jesus.
If you add exercise, it'll 9 weeks.
Hey.
You can get it down. But so again, all the raw data starts showing you these values are telling you the percentage of fat versus sugar, and then it goes on and on every 15 seconds and goes on.
We got legs today. We got an hour run today. So this is probably about an hour and a half worth of work, hour worth of running. So that's 2.5 hours. Tomorrow, about an hour and a half in the gym, hour worth of running, 2.5 hours.
Well, back up a minute.
Yeah.
Let me share with you something that we haven't talked about. Is there's a thing called EPOC. You know what that is?
Estimated perceived exertion?
No.
Wait, no, that's sorry.
So EPOC refers to the post-exercise expenditure because of what you did.
Yep.
So the cardio, the ratio of caloric demand is about 1 to 1.
Yep.
So if you burn 1,000, you know, it may take you, let me take it back. So like if you're training for an hour, it may take an hour for your metabolism to come back to normal.
Yeah.
If you do weight training, heavy weight training,
Yeah.
the EPOC's 2 to 1.
Yeah.
So if you did an hour's worth of weight training, you're not going to get back to normal for 2 hours, right? So that factors in when you're doubling up on the exercise, hour worth of running, 30, 40 minutes worth of strength training.
Yeah.
You know, collectively the EPOC might be. So I guess what I'm saying is that your metabolism's not going to normalize or slow down for probably a couple hours after what you've done.
Okay.
So that also factors in to the caloric needs.
But I'm just saying, so most of these days look like they're like 2-hour bike right here.
Yeah.
Most of these days are about 2.5 to maybe 4 hours worth of work.
Say it again.
2.5 to 4 hours worth of work a day.
Yeah, so let's just round it off and just call it 2.5,
Okay.
2,500 calories.
Okay.
So, and if you put 2,500 calories on top of this, yeah, you're getting closer to 5,000.
Okay.
I like it between 4,500 and 5,000. calories. And that surprises the crap out of people when I tell them that.
Yep.
And I've shared that information with people about you in my clinics because they're going, oh my God, I got to eat 3,000 calories. I said, you know what? Hunter's eaten 5 and lost weight.
Yeah.
You know, and it surprises people, especially guys that are about your size.
I haven't eaten anything today. That's why I'm yawning so much, I think.
I know, you're probably dying slow.
That piece of shit. He's a good guy.
Don't let him get in your head.
He's not in my head at all. I knew that I beat him. I beat that fucker. I'm just pissed off about the fact that I showed up unprepared and he thinks that he beat me. I know that he didn't beat me.
Interesting when you watch Barefoot, and you'll see this. If you pan in here, you see, look at the approach. His foot's very neutral. You see how his foot's basically pointing straight ahead. And what tends to happen when they're in shoes is they get to the var's edge. They start looking for that pinky toe first. And also look at how his toes are splaying. You can see the gap between his toes. Entertaining because you can see that the entrainment levels, when the afferent feedback from the deck is feeding him information, he's much more stable in his ground contact. So now when he puts his shoes on, he's starting to dampen that information, and you know there's going to be some more flaws. But the idea is we just pre-activated. We set his feet up to train the brain to be prepared for what's going to come next. You see what I'm talking about? Did you notice it? So now look. You see how it's more on the outside edge of his feet?
In my shoes?
It's better. It's better. So what I need those knees to come forward. Knees forward. Get the knees to the stick. Keep the shins behind the knees. Get into the belt a little bit. Drag that belt a little bit. Push your hips forward. What's the matter, bud?
Calves were drained from that race, dude.
That's 12-5. 4.
Feels like it.
So let's do intervals there.
Yeah.
So you gotta get that hips forward, buddy. Bring your chest, bring your hips towards this. Look in here. You can touch that belt to the stick. Ow.
Yeah, it hurts, dude. It's all my calves. My lungs don't even really feel that much.
And let you just lay in and see what it feels like. So your tendency is you work harder than you need to.
Yeah.
Because your cadence was a little quicker by nature than that 180. You got to find that floating sensation where you just feel like you're just happy and comfortable, because you don't need to do more work to maintain the same pace.
I agree. So we just finished up in the lab. As you guys saw, we did like the whole spectrum of why Rich is such an important coach and has been an important aspect of my training, and could be for you if you want to reach out to him. He has people flying from all over the world to work with him. So just to give you guys a little like backlog, RMR, really important stuff if you are trying to understand your baseline as an athlete and just understand what your core is just kind of burning daily to exist. And if you want to go past that, what you need to do to support it, I think it's super important. I've had my best results doing that. And then part 2, guys, has just been, I've been running for 15 years of my life, and it doesn't mean I'm a professional runner. It just means that I was good enough to get by. So working with somebody like Rich has been able to really turn me into a professional runner, at least become better at my craft. And it's exhausting, it's challenging, but it's worthwhile and pays off in the end. So if you got any notes to say, otherwise that's a button.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got t-shirts made up says you can't win if you run like shit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you.
It's the damn truth. We'll button it up with that, baby. Once you get this stuff really nailed down, you get to see the biggest results, and that's what we're really going for, because if I'm gonna make a comeback, I'm coming to crush skulls, baby.